My name's Tait Sibbel. I'm the offensive coordinator at Platte-Geddes High School in Platte, South Dakota.
How long have you been coaching? Like, give us your coaching story in a nutshell. When did you start? What roles have you taken on?
Yeah, so I started coaching at Platte as the offensive coordinator. Was my first role here. Tagging along with Bruce Hanson, who's the head coach and runs the defense. We started together in 2019. So this will be our, we've just completed 6 years.
Awesome. From year one to where you're at now, like what kind of challenges have you faced? What kind of, as far as like building your team culture and finding success on the field, what does that look like for you guys?
That was our number one goal, is to change culture and establish a culture of winning and establish a culture of effort. Something I think that you probably instilled in us as well, and establishing a culture of, it doesn't matter what we're up against or what we're doing, we're giving 100% effort. Then as we continued, once we got our culture established, that was the number one thing. And then getting into our philosophies and how we want to do things. So we kind of changed defenses to a 3-4, and then I implemented more of a single back type system for us, and establishing our mode of football, our brand of football, and being able to do many things on offense and being a very base defense type team.
Like, give us like your offensive kind of philosophy in a nutshell.
So our offensive philosophy is the goal to give many different formations and make it look complex from the defensive side of the ball, but we're running the same things on offense out of different formations. So being able to plug and play with the same personnel from different formations, so the same personnel groupings, and then lining them up in different ways and being able to run our same base scheme. So if we can be able to run, in the run game, we want to be able to run 5 to 6 different variations of run game from 10 different formations, and being able to have the same scheme up front, but being able to give it different looks on the backside.
Now, you were telling me about the time that you saw a play like on the ESPN or on SportsCenter or something like that, and drew it up the next day in the dirt. Basically, was that for the state championship game?
Yeah. So we use. I watch a lot of college football, obviously. I enjoy it, but I take a ton of plays from college teams, and we played in the state championship on Thursday. Wednesday night, we were watching MAC and picked up a play action tight end wheel route and used it in the state championship the next day off a piece of paper that I had in my back pocket going from the third to fourth quarter. So we were able to score on it, and it was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Bruce always made the joke that someday I was going to pull a piece of paper out of my back pocket, put it in game, and we did. And the first time we did it was in the Dome in the state championship. So it was a good time.
You weren't intimidated by the idea of just throwing something new, like in the biggest moment, in the biggest game. Talk to me about that.
Our best teams are able to adapt, and our best teams, and that's why we truly want to have a base scheme that words make sense to them. And so as long as we know 5 to 6 words as far as run game goes, and then different concepts, and we're a concept-based system. And so if we can have a few different passing concepts and then be able to vary off that and be able to adapt off of those concepts. And so if we're going to run a switch route, we want to be able to run a switch route with a Y out, or a switch route with, be able to add one thing. And so in game, if, hey, we're running deuce right switch, we want to add a Y out underneath that in game, the tight end comes off the field and says, every time we run switch, that outside linebacker vacates and he follows the wheel. We can add something onto that. So that's our philosophy, is we know 5 to 6 run game words, we know passing game concepts, and then from there we can adapt. And so we want our players to come off the field and say, when we run this, this is open, right? If we're running a Florida fade out type concept, that safety's coming down on the out every time. And if we go up and out and up on him, we're scoring touchdowns. And so that's our philosophy. And we want the kids to have fun with it. And they do have fun with it. If they feel like they're involved in the game planning, and they feel like in game, they can come say, hey, when we're running power, they're over scraping and we can have counter backside. When they're starting to tell us those things, those are our best teams. And that's how we have the most success.
Do you find that you're like teaching them those things from like freshman year on, or 8th grade, or when do you start that process?
It starts on scout team, right? So it starts on scout team when we're running plays against our varsity defense. if I can have a freshman quarterback say, I know you want me to hit this crossing route because that's what whoever we're playing does, but as soon as he crosses, that post comes open over top. We want them to start seeing those things. And same with the pass game. Hey, our edge rushers are coming upfield too far. If we can run a draw out of this, we want them involved in scout teams so they can start to understand just base concepts of football. We're just trying to teach football in a way that makes sense to them and they can have fun with. And when they have fun with it, they learn with it, they grow with it, they run with it.
Talk to me about like year one to where to winning the state championship. What did that path look like as far as the record before you guys started, and then just kind of the path towards the success you've had?
Yeah. So year one was the first year Platte-Geddes had won a playoff game in 8 years, I believe. And I don't think they'd won a ton of games prior to that. We had just moved to town and the football team wasn't overly popular with the town, and it was kind of in a tougher way. When we got there, it didn't start great. We actually played the defending state champion first game, and we lost by a touchdown. I was devastated. My wife was frustrated, and it was like we were getting all these pats on the back, like, great job, that was a great game. And I was not about celebrating losing. I mean, I thought we should have won the game, and I was frustrated. And we kind of went 500 during the year, got ourselves into a playoff game that was a winnable playoff game. We won it, and then we lost to the eventual state champion in the next game. And again, it was kind of the same feeling of, great season. That's not where we want to be. We want to be championship type football. And so then the next year we were able to go, the second year we were in it, we were able to go 12-0 and win state championship in 2020. And the following year we lost the second game of the year, and then lost twice, and kind of had to restart and say, hey, we need to get back to our base culture and who we are as a football team. And then we were able to make a run in the playoffs and we're able to go back to back. But there was adversity throughout that, especially the first year was a lot of, we are a good enough football team to win these games, but our culture right now is not good enough to win these football games. As the year progressed and guys started to buy into this is the way we do things, we could see that we could be a dangerous team towards the end of year one. And then year two, it was just the ball kept rolling and took that. And then I think that once we had success, maintaining success is the hard part, right? I mean, building the culture is one thing, but maintaining the culture is not just saying we're a good football team. That's just who we are. No, we have to continue to work to be a good football team. And in small town South Dakota, we have a rotating door of, what class sizes look like and what numbers look like on the team. I mean, right now, last year we had 35 kids on our team and 18 of them were freshmen. And so not that our upper class, they were good football players, but we just had a younger base group. And I think you can see it again towards the end of the year, we started to build that culture back, and it's not a thing where without continuing to work at it, it doesn't stay there. You have to continue to work at it every day and continue to add different things, and boring work breeds complacency. And so we want to continue to adapt and evolve to, I think now we're in this 6 years too. And the other teams in our conference, the other teams that we play, know us better than when we started. We had that advantage. We came in and nobody knew what we were going to run, and nobody knew, a lot of our different things. And now teams start to understand that we're going to always throw 3 or 4 plays, 3 or 4 formations that we've never shown. And every week we're going to add some new stuff. And so they're starting to get a little bit better about, Platte is going to be continuing to change every week.
That, what was your quote? Complacency breeds.
Boring work breeds complacency.
That's it, man. That's good stuff. That's a one-liner right there, buddy.
Yeah.
Do you have any nightmare stories from previous headset experiences?
I think that there was always 1 to 2 that didn't work. So in our old headset experience, before we went to the headset app, there was always 1 to 2 headsets that didn't work. And it was whoever gets to the box first gets the good headsets, right? And that was kind of we're going to go, and we know headset 3 and 4 aren't the best. And if the router doesn't work, it all goes down. There were many games where, hey, we can't get the router figured out. We're just going to have to communicate on the sideline. And the guy in the box is talking to us at quarters and halftime. And that was a common theme of maybe 2 headsets were working for our 5 guys that were at the field. And so it was just We never really used them, to be honest. Our head coach rarely had one on. I mean, he was involved in the defense anyway. He trusts me to do the offense, but it's much better if we can communicate that, hey, our middle linebacker is also our starting running back. And so he's not feeling very good right now, and we need to be able to talk through that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where it's our headsets were they were a non-factor. We were not using them because they were just so frustrating.
Hey, when did you start using the headset app?
We started 2 years ago. And I think that we actually started on the day of our fall scrimmage 2 years ago. We got it downloaded the morning of the scrimmage. I sent out the invites to the other coaches while the boys were warming up, and we used it during the fall scrimmage. It was a 10-minute process of, like, while they're warming up, hey, I think this is something we should try. Does everybody have some sort of headphones? Like, yeah, I got something in my pickup. Okay, go grab it, and we'll use this during the scrimmage and see if we like it. We loved it, and we've been using it ever since. We actually went to Blue Parrot headsets, and we got 3 or 4 of them that everybody uses. I think it's you guys. The guy in the booth still uses his wired headphones because they work in the booth, but on the field, it's very nice to have the Blue Parrot that has the sound canceling. I think it's the 350 is what we use, and it's a great headset, and it works perfect for what we're doing.
Have there been any aha moments with the headset app where you feel like you've been able to do things that you haven't been able to do before?
The biggest aha moment that we've had with the headset app has been in practice. There's always the if-then statements when you go into a game of, if we're in this set and they come out in that one, that's not great for us, right? If we have this blitz on and they come out with a play that is just the perfect counter for it. And so what we'll do a lot of times is we'll run, as the scout team, we'll have the app in our ear, and then the defensive coordinator can call his play, and we'll run a set that we're trying to beat that. Or if we're in the perfect scenario, if the scout team's in the perfect scenario, they should beat that. And so we have a lot of times where, before practice or before teams, we'll talk to the outside linebacker. Hey, when we have this backside blitz on, you need to stay home. If they run X play, you have to stay home for that. You're our only guy on the backside. And so we'll have the scout team call that play. The defense coordinator hears the scout team's play. He'll call the blitz, and we'll be able to have the backside, see if the backside linebacker paid attention, see if he stays home, and vice versa, right? On offense, if we're in a screen type situation and they're in man, and okay, that guy's going to stay home for it. And so we really want to have those if-then statements. If I come out with a quick pass, or if I come out with play action, they run their corner blitz that they run 2 or 3 times a game, how do we handle that? Do we pick it up? That was our biggest aha moment, is to be able to use it in practice and say, if I come out in this set, I expect them to come out in XYZ set, but they don't, and they run a blitz off it. And I prep my guys to pick up that blitz. Do they do it or not? If we have a scout team quarterback come back and say, when we're running this play, the post is coming open. So I'll talk in the headset app, and nobody can hear but the defensive coordinator. And I'll say, hey, when we're running this and you're in cover 3, that post is coming open because your top safety is going with someone. So then, okay, come back to that in 3 plays. So we'll run 3 plays. They're not expecting it. Hey, we're coming back to that same play. Put your guys in cover 3 and see if he reacts the same way.
That's awesome.
It's been a huge, huge help in being able to teach on the fly. And we all work full-time jobs. And so it's not something that we're spending all day game planning. But if in practice we're seeing things, we can adjust it and then test our kids on, hey, we talked about this in team. When they run that counter, you're the only guy backside. You have to stay backside. And when we run, it looks like power away, and we come with a counter backside, you can see it in real time. Everyone's looking for the same guy because we're all able to talk.
That's awesome. It's as simple as pulling your phone out of your pocket.
I have a very good story for this. So we were playing, and our guy in the booth was not able to show up. He had something that happened, and he wasn't able to show up. He's our principal. He was not able to show up to the game. So we had an ex-player who's playing at EW today. He drove down to the game, and I invited him to our headset app coach's channel. When he got there, he set it up, put his headphones in, and was able to be our guy in the booth. He got there 5 minutes before the game and was able to be our guy in the booth. It took him 5 minutes to get set up, and he was rolling. He was our guy in the booth for the game. You would never be able to do that with anything else. We wouldn't have brought the headsets. We wouldn't have brought the right stuff. It would not have happened without the headset app. It's such a powerful thing. It took us a year and a half to figure out how beneficial it could be at practice. And then once we figured that out, that if we just put our earpiece in while we're calling plays, we can communicate that every time we run power, the backside backer scrapes too far. Every time that we run play action, there is a hole in that zone. And so we can come back to those plays 2 or 3 plays later and say, correct it, and then see if our guys adjust it. Okay, when we're running this screen, you have to figure it out sooner. When we're running play action, you can't, we need to be reading guards, whatever those things are that we can see in real time, and then we'll come back and test them. Maybe it might be the next day, but we'll come back and test them and say, we talked about when they're in this set, you have to do your job. And then we'll say, hey, call that in 4 plays. And when we call it, we're able to watch the right guy, because there's times, as in practice, where there's a lot going on and you might not be paying attention to the right thing, and you might miss it and not see it till you watch the practice film, or if you have a practice film. But if we're able to communicate and say, your safety's going to the crossing route when there's a post coming later, whatever those things are, the practice thing has been just phenomenal for us. Yeah. We have been using the headset app for 2 years now. This will be going into our 3rd. Grayson showed up to the game. He left DWU practice, showed up to the game, threw in his AirPods, and was our booth guy for, in a 5-minute turnaround. We coach and play in our games are in rural South Dakota. We've never had any reception issues. I actually called another coach before this and said, hey, have we ever had any issues with it? No, it's always been very simple. He's like, it's been a very good thing for us. And so it was nice to hear him reaffirm that.
Would you consider your staff tech savvy?
No. We have an arrangement of staff, as everyone does, from old to young and tech savvy to not. But there's been no issues. The only issues we've ever had are silly things like my Bluetooth is connected to your headset because we grabbed the wrong ones when we got here. Right. That's the only issues we've ever had have been with user error. That's a 2-second fix, switch headsets back, and we're good to go. I would recommend the headset app. It's so convenient for small schools and small staffs because of how easy it is to adapt and how easy it is to use. But I don't want to undersell the ability for it to be used for big schools too, because it is so simple, but it also has all the capabilities that any other headset has. It can do everything that a big school needs, but it's so easy to use for a small school. And obviously, one of the biggest things is the cost is tremendously different, tremendously lower. When we were looking at budget, we can spend a few $1,000s on new headsets, or we can go the headset app route and get a tackling dummy and a push sled. And it was a no-brainer. It's like, we can use better capabilities, plus we have more things to use at practice. And so when it comes to budgeting, and especially with the smaller schools, it's such a huge advantage. I'm Tait Sibbel. I'm the offensive coordinator at Platte-Geddes High School in Platte, South Dakota. We switched to the headset app, and it's honestly better.